Hi everyone, it's Rachel here from the Shades of Orange. Today I want to do my July wrap-up, but before I get started, I want to do a booktuber shout-out of Felicia from Little Prairie Library. She's a booktuber who does a combination of young adult and adult fantasy and contemporary, as well as a smattering of other genres. And I recently found her channel, really enjoy it, and I just wanted to give her a shout out because I think she brings a great voice to the community. She's definitely not the exact same type of reader that I am. We don't have identical tastes. I think my tastes are a little bit darker. I love like creepy and gritty stories while she shies away from that. So if you're someone who maybe finds some of my recommendations to be a little bit too dark at times, I think she's a really good one to check out. A lot of like lighthearted, great like summer reads. I'm just really enjoying watching her channel, and I definitely want to pass along the recommendations. So I'll put her information down below if you want to take a look at her channel. And otherwise, I'll just get on to the books. This month, I managed to read 7 books, which was amazing considering I ended up in a big reading slump partway through the month. And I'll basically just get into the books and let you know what happened. The first book I read was Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. This is a young adult contemporary that was a perfect book to pick up in summer. It takes place during the summer months, and it's basically the story of 2 boys who are growing up. It's a coming of age story, and also a story about sexual identity as they try to figure out their own sexual orientation. And it was a really beautiful story. The writing was very nice. It is a much slower story than I normally read. I'll admit I'm normally someone who needs kind of a fast narrative to keep me going through a book. And this was quite slow, but despite that, I read about 2/3 of the book in one day because it was just that perfect slow summer read. I highly recommend if you're going to read it during the summer. Now's the time. It was just a beautiful book, and yeah, just really enjoyable. After that, I picked up The Girl That Played With Fire by Stieg Larsson, which is the second book in the Millennium Trilogy, which starts off with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I read The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo a couple years back and didn't really love it, so I kind of procrastinated reading the sequel, but I finally felt like I should read it, and it was really disappointing. It honestly wasn't my favorite book. I didn't love the first one, and so I really just shouldn't have continued. I like that this book had a lot of the perspective of Elizabeth, but otherwise I just feel like the pacing is off. The book just takes too long to get going, and I didn't care enough about what was happening. It just wasn't the right book for me. I know other people love this series, but for me, I feel like there are better thrillers out there. There's better mysteries, there's better suspense, so I don't quite understand how these books became a phenomenon, but clearly I'm in the minority, so don't hate me too much if these are your favorite books. So after finishing the book, I honestly got into a really major reading slump, and I did post a separate video about that because I just wasn't reading at all. And everyone was so supportive in the comments. Everyone said, you know, don't worry about it, take a break, it's okay. And I did exactly what everyone told me to do. I took a break, I played video games, I watched TV, I saw friends, and it was just the break I needed. Eventually, when I was ready to start reading again, I picked up Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by, of course, J.K. Rowling. I have not read this book in at least 10 years. Of course, I read these all when they first came out, but I have not gone back and reread them in years. So this was a really fun, nostalgic read. Of course, I gave it 5 stars and just highly enjoyed it. So it was really just the perfect book to get me back into reading. Now, the other book I picked up post-slump was The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I feel like this book needs no introduction. I previously read it a couple years back, so I re-listened to this on audio and still absolutely enjoyed it. Still a 5-star read. I can see why people say that the characters really don't sound like teenagers. They're very philosophical and definitely don't have the authentic teenage voice, but despite that, I just think this book is beautiful and emotional and just was exactly what I wanted. Just a beautiful love story, and yeah, I was just completely sold on this book. Perfect thing to really pick me up and get me back into the reading mood. Now, the other audiobook I listened to this month was Reconstructing Amelia by Kimberly McCreight. This is recommended to me by Jenny at Adultish Books, and she thought I would really enjoy it, and she was definitely right. This is a story about a mother who gets a call from her daughter's school that there has been an accident and her daughter has fallen off the roof of the school. From there, it starts a mystery investigation of what happened to the daughter. And the title kind of gets its name because there's a reconstruction of everything that happened around the daughter, looking at her online profiles to her text messages, and the story takes place over multiple timelines at the past and present, and is basically just trying to piece together what happened to her daughter. It's a really fun mystery, lots of twists and turns. There's always that element of suspension disbelief in these type of mystery books though, because detectives don't typically allow mothers to follow them around and interview witnesses themselves, so it was a little bit implausible, but if you can get past that, it was just a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. It was a solid 4-star mystery for me. I also read one manga this month, and that was volume 3 of Death Note. Death Note is a story about a Japanese schoolboy who receives a notebook from a death god where if you write someone's name in the notebook, they will die. I am loving this series. I'm very picky when it comes to manga, but this is an incredibly engrossing story. I previously watched the anime, which I love, and just always wanted to go back and read the original story. It's just a great psychological suspense. There isn't a lot of action in these stories. There's a lot of sitting around and thinking. So if you're expecting an action-packed story, you might be a little disappointed, but it's this great like mental mind games and cat and mouse and trying to outsmart the other person. It's just so well crafted. I highly recommend this. I just think this is a phenomenal series so far, and I can't wait to keep going with it. Now the last book I read this month was 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. And this of course is the follow-up book after The Kite Runner. I read The Kite Runner last year and absolutely loved it. I gave that one 5 stars. And I didn't love this one quite as much, but still a great story. It's a story of 2 women who live in Afghanistan and tells their story over time as they get married and have children. And their stories are interwoven together. I think Hosseini is a masterful storyteller. Personally, I think The Kite Runner was a slightly better book. It was just a more cohesive narrative. I felt like all the pieces kind of came together. Well, this one wasn't quite as tight of a story, but still really enjoyable. If you have read The Kite Runner and haven't read this, it's definitely worth picking up. So that's everything I've read this month. Before I go, I want to let you know I'm really excited. I now have an Instagram account. I wanted to get one forever and I just got a new smartphone, so I set it up. So if you're interested in following me on there, I'll put the link down below. I'm going to do a mixture of books, like what I'm currently reading, book hauls, along probably with pictures of hedgehogs and a little bit of life stuff mixed in there. If that sounds like something you'd want to see, feel free to follow me. And as well, I don't mention it often, but I do have Twitter and Goodreads, which are always links in the description box. So please, if you want to follow or friend me there, I really like to interact with people and really make Booktuber a community, so it's not just a one-way conversation. So please, subscribe, message, bug me, recommend books to me. I absolutely love basically getting to talk about books, which is why I do this. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one. Okay, bye.